and welcome to the Irish Arsenal GOONER podcast. It's Tuesday, the 25th of May. I'm your host, Jonathan Giles, as always. This week I'm joined by my regular season guests, John Media and Martin Stoneball. How are you, lads?
Evening, Johnny.
Good evening.
We're hoping to be joined by Eamon Donnelly. He was running a bit late, but you'll have to put up with us three for the change. On this week's show, we'll be previewing the Everton 5-1 home victory, our last game of the season, of course. Myself and Martin, and we're at it. Really good day and a really good victory, so we get stuck into that in the next few minutes. We'll also be doing our player, goal and young player of the season, our pre-season games, the dates and times of those. A little piece on José Antonio Reyes. It's his 3rd anniversary on June the 1st, and I mentioned, of course, of tomorrow is the 33rd anniversary of the 1989 2-0 victory over Liverpool. It's hard to believe, 33 years. It's incredible. So I know John has fond memories more than myself, and maybe even Martin has as well. So we'll be doing that, a little piece on that, and then we'll be mentioning the Dublin Arsenal Supporters Club as always at the end, since this is our last show till we come back, all going well, on August the 2nd, a few days before the first game of the season. Of course, you can catch our show, as always, on the Dublin Arsenal YouTube channel, on Spotify and SoundCloud and on ACAST. But from next season going forward, it will be the Dublin Arsenal YouTube channel and Spotify. That's where we're getting our most views and listens. So keep it simple, and hopefully we even do a live one over YouTube and test it out and see how we go there as well. So something to look forward to next season. We begin with our review of the Everton 5-1 victory. First half goals by Martinelli and Nketiah, and second half goals by Cedric Suarez, Gabriel and Odegaard, and Van de Beek got Everton's consolation. Everton were safe, of course, from last Thursday. They won 3-2 against Palace. Some comeback, incredible comeback, and thankfully they were safe, and it's pretty much a real end of season affair. Of course, Spurs won 5-0 against Norwich, and I think we already knew from the 1-0 victory against Burnley the week before that was kind of out of our hands. But it was nice to see us still going for the win, going for the kill, and ending the season on a high. Sitting in the clock end, I didn't see much with the standing with a big mallet head of one of my fellow supporters, but so thankfully we won, and I didn't have to give him a slap.
Wasn't
great
me.
Victory. Great victory by all means. Martin was given the Everton fans some local share in the just above me. But all in, a good banter by both sets of fans. Great. The clock end had great chants all day. You know, it was really good atmosphere now. It's a real good end to sit in, I have to say. And all in all, I was very happy with the performance, even though there was nothing really riding on it. It was nice to end the season on a high. Before I come to John and Martin, our final position, it's seed 5th place with 69 points, and we've qualified for the Europa League group stage next season. So I'll come to Martin, Martin, for sure, why not, since you were at the game. Also, what did you make of the whole day, Martin?
Yeah, again, it was a great day. It was last day, and as ever, we went over. You went over for the 2 days. We went for the day trip, so it was a really, really, really long day. So it's just like, you know, it's just killing me, like, you know, just to do it on the day trip. And unfortunately, probably next year we're always going to play on a Sunday, so it's not going to be any different, I don't think. But yeah. But saying that, like, it was a great thing. We were quite early. We probably, you've seen a few photographs on our Instagram. We put the flag on Tony Adams' statue. We met a load of fans in the 12 pins before the game. And yeah, we were all hoping that Pukki was scoring a hat trick, but that obviously didn't happen. To the game, yeah, we had great seats just next to the Everton fans, so the banter was amazing. But yeah, it was just like the game. Like we didn't want to lose it. I mean, that was just one thing. Like they couldn't just go in and just play whatever they had. They still had to win the game, and they really did. I think we had good football. It's just a shame we didn't play like that against Newcastle, innit?
Yeah.
But look, it is what it is. We play in Europa League next season, and I think maybe it's even better that we are playing Europa League. Champions League might have been just that little bit of step too early for them, but you never know. But you would have overtaken it. But yeah, 5 different goal scorers. All the goals were just great. The goal we actually conceded in the last minute of the first half, I thought was a bit sloppy, but kind of look. What I was just saying, like we're in the same position when in the Leeds game when we were there. We were 2-0 up, like we got a stupid goal and then we kind of nearly threw it away. But this time we didn't. We went into halftime and we came back out and they just didn't have any chances. We had so many shots on goals. We dominated the game. There wasn't any danger whatsoever. So yeah, it was just like a really good end of the season game. Really enjoyed it. We had the thing afterwards, when the players came out and they were thanking the crowd, and especially the clock end where we were sitting. There's so many young Arsenal fans now, and they have drums and and they're making really good atmosphere. So let's hope that's going to continue next season. And yeah, see what's going to come happen in the next year. But yeah, good day all the time.
Who stood out for you on the day, Martin, in terms of man of the match candidates?
It's hard to say because like we said, we were sitting behind the goal, so like you have a different view, but you can't see everything. But when I watched the back on the man of the match, I mean that young fella Saka, oh my god, he was involved like in nearly every play, like the two corners he had with Cedric, that was like a perfect training ground setup, and for me, like Saka just stands out. Like he started every single game of the season. For such a young man, he had just an absolute brilliant season. And for me, like he would have stood out. I mean, everybody played quite well. Odegaard played well, even El Neni played well. But for me, like Saka has such a big influence in the game, and thank God he played every game. I think because otherwise we might have been really really stretched in some games. And but it's a shame that we had to put that pressure on a young fella like that. And let's hope we don't overplay him. I hope he gets after the international games what is coming up now. He's getting a bit of break and he's going to go to the beach, and chill out because he can't go on like that, So because we want to have him, we don't want to have another injury prone talent, going to waste. So let's hope. But for me, yeah, I was Saka at the game.
Yeah, I thought we were very good at set pieces as well. I'd probably give it to Odegaard myself. I thought he was very creative on the day, but I didn't think one player really put a foot wrong, to be honest. And I was quite happy. Nuno Tavares got down the wing very well as well. Just his final shots. He has to work on over the summer, but no, he's got some pace and definitely he's an attacking threat going forward. Yeah, John, how did you see from the match from your viewpoint on the box?
A lot like a pre-season friendly, to be honest. Sun was shining. Arsenal had their new jerseys on. Yeah. The opposition turned up straight from the beach. It was exactly as Martin said. There was no pressure on it. There was absolutely no pressure on it. Everton done their celebrating. I think they were probably fresh from the nightclub on Saturday morning and come straight to the game.
Yeah.
Arsenal, as I said, there was no pressure on. The sun was shining. They put on a bit of a performance, a bit of a show for the fans. A nice way to end the season. It's a crying shame that we're disappointed with Pitt because back in August we'd have bitten the hands off anyone who offered the tours. But it was a real comfortable performance, and I'm delighted. We've enough injuries. It didn't have to be too intense. Some nice football, some nice way to finish the season. 5 goals at home. Yeah, roll on August.
Who was your man of the match yourself?
I thought Odegaard had a terrific game, but again, the pressure was off. But I have to say, I totally agree with Martin when it comes to Saka. His consistency, week in, week out, for such a young man, for the last couple of seasons has been absolutely phenomenal. He carries this club on his shoulders at the moment. I would love to see him get a new contract and accept the new contract, sign a new contract because he deserves it. And it'd be great if he signed one just to protect it because he's a superstar in the making. I hope he has a long summer break. I hope he gets well rested because he hasn't had a rest in 2 years.
Yeah.
Get that unicorn swim ring out.
Yeah,
and do what,
absolutely.
yeah, him, Ramsey, and that.
2 weeks and drip feed and whatever you need. And wrap him in cotton wool. Because we're going to need him next season, 100%. I want all the players to have a long rest. They've had a tough season. Week in, week out, a lot of players carrying niggly injuries. International football sucks. Absolutely drives me bloody mad at the moment. So there's too much football. These guys need a break, and I hope they have a long summer.
There's 4 games now, isn't it? Four games they're going to play in the next 2 weeks.
4 games, and then we have to get them back for pre-season. We have pre-season tours.
Mad,
if the players have to, if they get 2-3 weeks off, it's the look, and that's criminal. It really is. They're just flogging these players to death. You know, we should be concentrating on, you know, let's see what the transfer window is going to be instead of looking at international football. They're flogging the game to death. They're flogging the players. I really hope our players get a bit of a break this summer because they need it. Because there's going to be a weird. It's going to be a weird next season is going to be absolutely nuts. The season is going to start early. It's going to stop in mid-November for the World Cup, and it's going to start up again in January. It's going to be insane. They're going to cram football in left, right, and centre. It's going to be games coming thick and fast. These players need a rest. They need to be managed next season. And this is that'll be Arteta's big test next year. I know we'll talk about that maybe in another episode, but it's definitely something to be planning for now.
Yeah, 100%.
I thought the second goal was a really well worked goal from Saka's corner, and then Nketiah's header. Dele Alli and Saka were going at it. Jordan the corner, and I could see that there was a chance for a goal there, and Nketiah kept his mind on the game, snuck by the two of them, and a glancing header was really well, you know, it's really well worked goal, and that's why you want just keep your mind, don't mind what's going around you, just keep your mind on what's happening, and he done it really well.
Shaka didn't lose his head with Dele Alli. He won that battle of wits with a halfway. So
halfway, for the change, Dele
Alli had to be taken out because he was going to get red carded. Once Shaka knew he had him in his pocket, and Dele Alli was just losing the plot. That was always fun to see. But yes, it could be Shaka's last game.
Yeah, actually, with it being the last game of the season, of course, it's going to be a lot of players' last game, possibly for the Arsenal as well. Probably we're saying farewell to Leno, but it looks like there's going to be a bit coming in from Benfica. Speculation at the moment, but with Turner coming in, he probably will want to play first team football with the World Cup for Germany coming up. So with Leno, a possibility, probably Lacazette as well if Leon come in for him again. I'll throw it out to the two. Do you see a lot of outgoings this summer? I
think there's you go ahead.
I think there's a lot of players we'd like to see leave the club.
Yeah.
As I say, I think Lacazette's gone. His contract's up. I think he's gone.
Yeah.
Leno, because we have the replacement, we want to get the best possible transfer fee. You before the program started, you were saying Benfica are preparing a bit of 10 million. I think he's worth more, but that'll be a start. Maitland-Niles hadn't had a great loan spell at Roma. I think someone will come in and put a bid in for him. Nelson, maybe someone come in, put a bid in for him. Bellerin, I know he had a good season with Betis, but I don't know whether they can afford him. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. I'd love to see Cedric go. So anyone knows of a Park League looking for a half, some sort of right back, please take him, and Amo joins us.
We've got Eamon in the house.
I do see some outgoing, absolutely. But I know early on in the season, Amo himself was talking about a lot of young players being promoted, as well as the transfers coming in. So we'll see a lot of players moving on. We need them. We need to get top dollar for the best money we can for these players.
Yeah.
So we can reinvest. So I do see a bit of a turnaround. Torreira, if someone can sort out him, get some money for Torreira as well. There's plenty of players we could be getting rid of just to increase the transfer fund.
Just like to welcome Eamon to the house. How are you, Eamon, this week?
Yeah, well, just on that, Jonathan, I just want the listeners to know about the communication level among the group. I'm looking at the podcast group WhatsApp here, And yesterday it says can do tomorrow, and I answered, okay. No other answers from anybody, no confirmation from anybody, and yet I turn on my WhatsApp and I find that the show was on. So, I feel that there's
We
a Donnelly Out
apologise for
campaign.
Eamon's lateness as usual to the show.
Well, I feel that there's a Donnelly Out campaign here, which I can do with. I'm big enough and bold enough. So, I just want the listeners to know, the loyal listeners, I'm still here, folks, and it's so frustrating, Deirdre. No, but seriously, I just realised the show I thought the show was on tomorrow night, Jonathan.
Well, the text was sent last night, but we apologise for
our WhatsApp group up.
We apologise.
What were you talking about? Never mind all.
We apologise to the 100,000 listeners.
Possible outgoings, Eamon. That's where we moved on to. Possible outgoings.
Can I get your view, Eamon, on the Everton results? Our 5-1 victory. How did you see the game?
Everton were in their slippers. They were safe. Arsenal played well. I actually didn't see the game. I watched some of it back because I was watching Manchester City. And the reason why I was watching that was because the Arsenal wasn't on. But I had the Manchester City game on silent while I listened to the commentary. Here's loyalty. Listen to the commentary on Arsenal.com of our game, and only switched off when we got the fourth goal because I knew the result was safe. It was a good win. Another poacher's goal by Nketiah. There you go. I think that's significant. That was the most significant thing in the game for me. Was the type of goal that he got in that game.
Yeah.
It
was really good movement from him. Yeah.
But what I understand, and you were there yourself, Jonathan. You were there, Martin. I understand that again. Even though we finished the season on a disappointment, the connection between the fans and the team is very much alive and well. That was what was coming across from David Hillier in the co-commentary position on Arsenal.com. So you can't complain.
100%.
100%. So look, I mean, it was a nothing result. It was a game of cricket. From that point of view, Everton barely tried a leg. But look, at the end of the day, I think it's more about taking stock. Of course, there's disappointment. Of course, there is, because of the position we put ourselves in. Through sheer grit and determination, we didn't get much luck with injuries. We're going to have to look at Tierney and Partey and say, if we're going to rely on those guys, we're going to have good backup for them. And look, I think when we all step back from this, and I'm going to say something that's probably some of the instant people mightn't get. I'm not so sure Champions League would have been great for us. That might sound mad, and I'll tell you why. What would we have to sign if we get into the Champions League? Would, for example, we have been under pressure to get a big name signing, or somebody who's 29 years of age steady the ship? And are we going back into that spiral again of, I think the journey we're on, actually, the Europa League won't do us too much harm in terms of the journey we're on. So from that point of view, when I step back from the disappointment of it, genuinely, I think we're in the right place. And the last thing I wanted to say, because I thought about this, when Wenger left, right? And remember, and I think I'm in good company here. I'd be a great supporter of what Wenger did with that club. But when he left us, we were trying to cling on to our top four status. We'd slipped into 5th place. He left us 2 points behind the Champions League places with a squad that was trying to cling on, and we were going down the cliff, right? Where we find ourselves now is 2 points off the Champions League places, going back up.
Yeah.
With a team going in the right direction and a young team. And I think if we all take stock in the round, without kind of trying to rain on anybody's parade who has a view, that'll be where I see us, and that's genuine,
Yeah, I think we all agree probably 5th place was, and at the end of the day, where we deserve to be. Just sadly not good enough for 4th yet. I'd like to underline that yet. Next season, I think we'll give it a good go, but I think we're probably, being honest with you, I think we're a season or two still behind that. I still think we need another 1 or 2 transfer windows just to get them type of players in. But as you said yourself, Eamon, throughout the season, we've got a plan in place for a change, and Arteta seems to be the man that's guiding us in the right direction. I think John and Martin would agree with that. We're on a road, and then
I'll disagree a little bit. If the
There we
chance
go.
arises, you've got to take it. Now, I think you're right, Eamon. We're not ready for Champions League football. But when the opportunity comes, you got to grab it. And I think with Arteta and Edu, I think they've got a plan. And I don't think they would have panicked and bought the 28, 29-year-old players. I think they know what they need to do. And even if we finish third in the group in the Champions League, we're back into the Europa League, which is probably, as you said, where we belong. But you take the experience of Champions League football into these players.
Yeah.
You show these players you have the ambition and the drive to get there, and you take it. I don't think you ever turn down a chance of Champions League football, because it does raise the profile, it does raise the income, all that. But even if we finish third, I don't think we'd be, no matter, even now with this squad, we'd probably be good enough to finish third and still end up where we probably belong in the Europa League. So the table doesn't lie. We finished fifth. Yeah. We deserve to finish fifth. End of story. I think with this management team, I have a lot of this season has given me a lot of faith in this team, this group. I'm talking about the coaches and the manager himself. I think they've got they didn't panic in January. They made cold-hearted decisions in January. They knew this team was going to be threadbare at the very least.
Yeah.
They were taking a big risk. I know we won't go into the striker they tried to sign. Don't want to say too much. But, that was the one player they tried to sign in January, and because I think the players they wanted weren't available, and they didn't panic. They didn't just go out and get the second or third or fourth choice player that they could have got. They held on there and said, no. Their target at the start of the season was, European football. This team will get us European football. And
but just to be clear, John, I'm not kind of saying it's a great thing that we didn't get into the Champions League. What I'm saying is that when you stand back from it, it's not the palpable disaster that it felt like, because of the disappointment that we all felt, and because it was them,
exactly. That's the thing. Like any other team,
as you quite rightly say, when you have the opportunity, you've got to take it. But I would say this: because of the threadbare squad, it was difficult to shuffle that defence around. It was difficult,
100%. 100%.
Yeah, I think they got all in a pretty decent season, and the main aim was to get back into Europe after not being in it at all.
Look back to the season and say that's a hell of a step forward.
After the 2 years of COVID, lads, and with no fans in the stadium, it was a good comeback season, I think, for the full houses every week. And as Eamon said himself, and we've been there now twice, we said 3 times already this season, the connections back to fans, when you see the lap of honour, even just for finishing fifth, all of them sat behind and gave the players what they deserve, the appreciation that every one of them tried all season and got us so close to fourth, which would have been great. But look, here's the next season, but just to be back in European football, I think next season, and it gives the fans something to look forward to during the week and all, the Thursday, Sunday will be a test of the depth of the squad.
It'll be a test of your annual leave.
Be a test of your...
Monday they're a disaster.
It's a test of the bank balance. I don't know if we can run 3 days, 2 games in 3 days. I don't know if we can ever back that again, but I'm sure I'll give it a good go.
You were talking about outgoings when it came on. I don't want to be hogging the thing.
Go ahead, David.
I didn't really. I genuinely didn't know the show was on tonight, because of the tread. But that's no problem. But outgoings, I think the key is whether Nelson comes back to fight for a place. I don't see a future for him at the Arsenal. Maitland-Niles will be gone. There's word that Elneny will probably sign a short extension.
already signed today.
The key question is if Nketiah stays or not.
Yeah.
I'd like to see him get a bit of sense talked into him now. There's a lot he can do at the club, and we all know that. And right enough, There is going to be somebody to come in ahead of him in the queue, but he'd still get 25 starts with the amount of games we're going to have 60 games. He's still going to get 25 starts.
He's going to be a squad player, yeah. And he's had to go down the season, hasn't he? Particularly from the Chelsea game onwards.
Terrific. No, terrific. Yeah. That's off.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't expect him to score that many goals and as prolific. You know, he is a good striker in the box, and that goal, as you said, Eamon, against Everton there on Sunday, his movement just to get away from the two.
We don't have any other player who would have scored that goal.
Yeah, that's off. Yeah, true, right. Yeah. No, really good day out Saturday. I think Martin will agree, and you know, great victory when they're there. It's always nice to see your team win when you go over, and a nice way to end the season. Yeah. So that as I said earlier on, that concluded the season for us. We ended up fifth, of course, qualifying for the Europa League and finished with 69 points. So, look, not a bad season. I'll go with player of the season. So, I'll start with Martin. Who would your player of the season? Who would you give that to?
Well, as I said before, that like Saka is just amazing. For his age, for what he does or what did for Arsenal over the last couple of months, it's just incredible. So, like for me, player of the season is definitely Saka.
Bukayo Saka,
so,
yeah. Eamon, who would your player of the season be?
Well, a very, very good friend of mine who shares a first name and a surname with somebody on the call here, and he's an electrician, but I won't tell anybody who it is. He thinks that Saka only plays well for England. I've suggested a trip to either corrective therapy or at least Specsavers. But Bukayo Saka has been superb this season, and it's a hands down win for me on Bukayo Saka.
John, your player of the season?
Oh, it's 100%. He's been the most consistent player Arsenal have had. There've been times during the season where the likes of Odegaard or Smith Rowe or Martinelli and Thomas Partey have been outstanding for a run of games, but for the whole season, Saka has had a level which no one else has matched. My namesake, once he gets something into his head, it's very hard to get it out of it. Once he puts none of these masks to the courage, it's very hard to change. He'll be like that for the next 10 years.
But he only plays well for England.
He just doesn't see the rest of the game. Oh God, I'm in trouble if he hears that.
And I mean, that's actually
I'll say it again. I am not related to him. Okay, we get the same name.
I love him. He's my friend. Actually, if you actually take him away from the Arsenal, because he loves the club so much that he gets a few blind spots, like we all do, I suppose. Yeah. He's actually a very knowledgeable football guy, you know.
Yeah, he's very good.
Except
I have to say, hands down, Bukayo Saka will be mine as well, lads. I think what stood out for me, and the one moment that stood out for me, was the opener against City at home on New Year's Day. Quality goal, and really, the fans the stadium erupted, but the fans love him. You know, that goal just showed the passion for, you know, for such young kids. Especially the way the penalty shootout finished against it, his head could have went down, but he's a very strong character. You can see that in him. Loves the Arsenal, and hands down, Bukayo Saka for me. Yeah, go ahead, Martin.
No, I just wanted to say exactly the same after the England game. You know, like to come back and have this mental strength for such a young age.
Yeah,
that is just the amazing thing for it. Like, you know, like, and stepping up and taking penalties now, and it's just everything he does at the moment. And as I said, fingers crossed, like he signs another contract, and second, he doesn't get injured. Because I don't want that to see that, you know, like that such a talent is going to be wasted on, you know, overplaying him or whatever. So get this unicorn swim ring and go on the beach, man. and just do what you want to do.
Big time.
He strikes me, Martin, though, as a boy who just has that lucky streak about injury. Bit like Cristiano Ronaldo.
Good when you say that, please. Oh my God.
No, a bit like Cristiano Ronaldo, in that his body is good at coping, you know?
Yeah, he shakes things off.
The one moment that stood out for me, which kind of knocked on my head to say he is the guy we rely on the most, was the game against Newcastle away. when we were at nothing, we couldn't get out of our own half. And he got the ball down the right-hand side in the first half and made something happen straight away. And then I said to myself, Jesus, if he doesn't do it, nobody's going to do it. You know?
Yeah.
And I think we probably all felt that, you know, we have a chance once he has the ball, you know?
Shows how much he's come on, doesn't it? When you say that, you know, like a couple of seasons ago, you'd say, "Who is he?" Now we know, I know who he is. I think my young player of the season, I'd probably give it to my mate, who's got so many Man of the Match awards, Aaron Ramsdale. It's really, the 30 million was really well spent. A snip. I questioned it at the start of the season, like we all did, but his enthusiasm for Arsenal, the performances he puts in as well. He had a bit of a dodgy spell second half of the season, all right, but I think he's really our number one, and I'm really excited for the future with him in between the sticks. John, who was your young player of the season? Who would you give it to? Why naming his boot the furniture around?
Isn't he? Isn't Ramsdale older than Saka? You've just given him young player of the year. Will we get Saka player of the year?
I know you can't. You're not allowed. No, they're not allowed to share that. You has to be someone else.
Oh, okay. Now let's not call a young player of the year. Let's call it second player.
Let's
call it second spot.
He's still young in my eyes.
Yeah, I'm not going to give it to him. I'm actually going to give it to Ben White. I think he's been a revelation of centre half. I think he spent a huge amount of money. And when we had that run of that run of games from mid-December until that international break in March, I thought him and Gabriel were absolutely outstanding together. And him bringing the ball out into midfield gave us a wholly different approach to the game. So I'm going to go with Ben White. I think he's been a terrific signing for us, and I think he's had a really good fourth season. I worried about him on the defensive side. I knew he could play football. He's, Brighton do play football. They produce that kind of football. But he showed a ruggedness that I didn't that surprised me. He was up for the battle. He wasn't afraid of getting stuck in, so to speak. So Ben White really impressed with this. Ben White.
Martin.
Yeah, it's pretty hard, like, to actually pick a young player out of a team which is that young, you know?
Yeah.
Because I don't even know how far does a young player award go. What age group does it go? Like, I mean, under 23.
We say,
I don't know.
mid-20s. We say. How about that?
Yeah, like I mean, I don't know. I think Odegaard is only 23, isn't it?
Yeah, so, he's had a great season, hasn't he? He's really come on.
So he had a great season as well. But it's tough. Like, between Ben White, Ramsdale, all the young players really performed. So
players,
as I said, like, if I could give it to Odegaard, I'd give it to Odegaard.
Yeah.
If it would be Saka.
Yeah.
So there's so many players that really, really performed, and it's for such a young team. Like, they carried us to where we are.
Yeah.
And like, look at Smith Rowe. Like, even if he didn't play that many games, but he had a great season. Yeah. And it's actually the old ones that let us down. That's the biggest issue, isn't it? Like, we couldn't rely on the experienced players what we had. So as I said, I don't know. Like, Ben White is a good shout, I think, as well. But on the other side as well, Ramsdale, he's the revelation for the whole. See, because like nobody's seen that coming.
No,
I didn't see that in that extent. I would have known he would be a good keeper, but I wouldn't have never seen that he would take a club not only by in the matter he plays football, but the way he connected with the fans and being just like, because if you look at the WhatsApp messages what we had when we signed him, the stuff that was said about him and where he's now, that is just an absolutely incredible turnaround. So probably Ramsdale as well then.
Eamon.
Well, Martin has just gone through the whole team there. Just on Martin's comment about the older players let us down, I don't buy that. I think one older player let us down. It's like the burst balloon joke. Not only do you let yourself down, you let me down, your mother down as well. I think Aubameyang let us down with his attitude and what he did, and the fact that we had to we no choice but to get rid when we probably could have done his goals. That's number one. I don't think Granit Xhaka let us down. I certainly don't think Elneny let us down. Haven't sat on the bench all season.
How old is Pepe?
I don't even think Pepe has been a big disappointment. He's been a major disappointment. There's a player screaming in him somewhere to get out, and he's not going to do it with us. He needs to be sold, and we need to take the hit in him. But I'm going to label the present John Mealy as Yuri Geller because he read my mind. When you asked the question, I had Benjamin White in my head, right? I love his Eton College looks with his little pink rosy cheeks that you think, despite, as Johnny Giles would say, there's a bit of devil in him, you know. We used to say that about Fabregas. Nothing wrong with that. You know, there's a bit of a devil in Ben White. He wants to win. He's a real competitor. And he also wants to roil the opposition too. We need a little bit of that, you know. And he can defend. And he can play ball as well. So Ben White has been somebody I would say has been, if you want to say somebody, a breakthrough player for us who broke more barriers than I thought he would when we signed him. You know.
And the partnership with Gabriel is nurturing quite nicely as well.
Gabriel's a lovely attitude, though. You know. He's
cooked his goal Sunday very well as well. You know, really well taken goal, and he's really settling in nicely.
Begovic went down like a mortgage there for that one, you know.
Yeah, he's bad keeper, isn't he? He's poor Begovic, to be honest with you. But look, they didn't have a full strength team neither, you know. But look, I'll take 5-1 any time against any opposition. You know, it doesn't matter who they are. It's once the players give 100%, and they did on Sunday, being the last game. So it was nice to see full-blooded commitment. To the best part, goal of the season. I'd probably give mine to, I know Arsenal.com has given it to Alex Lacazette, the goal against Southampton at home. A good team goal that was. But I'll probably give mine to Granit Xhaka, the bullet he scored against Man United at the end of April. I thought it was really good finish. And he doesn't get many plaudits, so I'm going to give it to him. It was a good goal. Eamon, what was your goal of the season?
Charlie George against Liverpool.
Remember well.
I'm sorry, have we moved on from there? I find it hard to move my life on in stages from there. No, I would. You know what? I always recall on that December day sitting beside John when Southampton were playing us off the park, and then that happened. So for that alone, I'd have to agree with it because they really were in the first 15 minutes playing us off the park. And what I loved about that goal was Partey took a risk, Tomiyasu took 2 risks, right? And then all of a sudden, in a zigzag movement, the ball ended at Bukayo Saka's feet, and he knew what he was doing. He pulled it back to Lacazette and finished. I'd have to go with that one. I really would, you know. Yeah.
John, your goal of the season?
That's a great goal, but I'm going to go with Smith Rowe away to Chelsea. I just thought, Granit Xhaka doing a nutmeg on the edge of his own box. Well, everyone pulling their hair out was great.
It was good.
And then all of a sudden, 7 or 8 seconds later, they Smith Rowe the edge of the box, passing it into the bottom corner. It was a fantastic goal, so I'm just going to go with Smith Rowe.
Yeah.
Martin, your goal of the season?
Again, all of these goals are really great. But what stood out for me, and I think it's probably the only thing he did well this year, is the goal he scored against Wolves, Pepe, because we've been in the River Bar. And that turn in the box, and shooting, and what that meant as well, that we actually were going then with Lacazette and scoring the winner, and the River Bar erupted for that thing. So for me, it's probably one of the best technical goals. The other ones together were all like nice combinations and the way they were. But so I give Pepe that, like that's the only thing he did this year.
Yeah, I'd just like to mention as well, Aaron Ramsdale, 14 clean sheets for the season. So not a bad start for your first season at the Arsenal. And long may he continue that even better next season, fingers crossed. So that concludes the 21-22 season for his 5th place, 69 points, and European football on Thursday. I'll take that. Pre-season friendly games, did some dates and times for you. Saturday the 16th of July is our first one, 7 p.m. in the M&T Bank Stadium against Everton. Wednesday the 20th of July versus Orlando City, the Exploria Stadium. Saturday the 23rd of July versus Chelsea, the Camping World Stadium. And then our final one is Saturday the 30th of July, which is the Emirates Cup. It's only going to be one game as the Premier League starts on the 5th of August due to the World Cup and starting in mid-November, 12:30 kickoff.
And tickets are up on sale from today.
Are they for that game?
For the Emirates Cup, yeah.
Yeah, I just want to mention that, Martin. Myself and the secretary of the club had a chat earlier. The club aren't going to do tickets for that. They're on general sale. So
Are they?
No.
we've
I'm
been
just saying,
just so the listeners know, we've been let down before by people who say, "Oh yeah, I'd like to go to that," and then it's at the end of July and they say, "Oh, sorry, I'm going off to Achill Island instead," or something, you know. So look, they're on general sale. You don't need a membership card, so
You
go and
don't?
buy tickets and go over and enjoy yourself. Yeah.
Oh, you don't need a membership card. All right.
No, and tickets start from 16 euros onwards. So
All right. Anyone can
On
buy
general
them.
sale, like a concert. It's on general
Right.
sale.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. So I'll bulk buy and sell them on the market. And obviously get fucked out in the Liffey. Right. I'll sell them to Spurs fans. Watch a proper team play. Right. So that's good news. That our only one and only trophy next season is coming on the Saturday the 30th of July. Moving on from the pre-season friendlies. Coming up on June the 4th, it's the 3rd anniversary of José Antonio Reyes, our former striker who died sadly in a bad car crash there. It was the day of the Liverpool Spurs game. I remember that Champions League. It's hard to believe it's 3 years. It's gone so fast with all that's happened. He played he joined Arsenal in 2004 to 2007, 69 games and 16 goals. I thought he didn't really settle in, really, into the London scene, really. He's quite homesick, I think, and his wife as well. I thought he scored really top goals. I remember his first was against Chelsea, wasn't it, in the FA Cup, where he scored a couple, he scored a screamer. Always sad to lose a player so young, it reminds me of Rocastle for such a young age. And looking at a nice guy as well, aside from football. Eamon, what was your memories of José Reyes?
José Reyes, he was a shy boy who needed his family around him.
Yeah.
And they didn't settle in London more so than him.
Yeah.
But he was liked by his teammates. He was liked by the fans. He had some very good moments in an Arsenal shirt. And I've fond memories of him because of what he was associated with. But look, all I say is I was in Spain on holiday last year, and totally randomly I saw a local Spanish lad down in Benalmádena, and he got out of a car and he had a GOONER shirt of the year with Reyes on it, and said, "That's good enough for me." You know that fond memories and a very sad ending, to be honest.
Yeah, John, your memories of José Reyes, good striker, wasn't he?
As Eamon said, Kent was during the invincible season and played a huge part in the second half of that season.
Yeah.
I'll always think a bit unfulfilled talent. I'll always wonder what he could have been if he got the protection he should have got. I mean, he was kicked off the park at Old Trafford, absolutely battered.
Sorry, John, for interrupting you. I think that finished him.
Yeah, and I think that he really struggled after that. I mean, anyone who looks back on that game will wonder where the hell was the referee. It was
disgraceful, yeah.
But that became because he was that good. I know we had this, but we had the same thing when we spoke about him last year. I was at the game at Highbury when we played United during the invincible season, and for an hour he tortured that United defence. They couldn't touch him. He was absolutely outstanding, and it wasn't until he went off when they got back into the game. And I think that's why they tagged him at Old Trafford the following season. A huge talent as a young player, and I'll always wonder what could he have been if he'd had a half decent on the ball referee that day. Very sad to see him die such a sad.
Martin, your memories of José Reyes?
Yeah, pretty much the same. It's just like another Spanish player who came to the Premier League and he really showed things. But the way he got kicked around and it just wasn't happening in some ways for it. But it's another like Fabregas. Like a real and the Spanish players. It is really hard for some of the players to actually settle in England, and I think it's the same what Torreira is going through at the moment. It just can't. Some of them do and some of them don't, and he was not one of them who was able to settle down. And it's a shame because he was really talented, and look at that, he died even earlier. That's just devastating for anything. But a really really good player, and shame he didn't stay longer. You know, like it was able to fulfill its potential. You know.
Yeah, it's sad.
But,
yeah. It was, okay, he'd always be remembered for the invincible season alone. Yeah, but he had a pretty decent career for Sevilla, Madrid. Like he done quite well, so he had a good career in the short. Sadly, in the short life. So rest in peace. José Antonio Reyes, third anniversary is June 1st, of course. We had mentioned that on the Arsenal by Facebook page as well. Tomorrow is May the 26th, a significant day in every Arsenal fan's calendar. It's the 33rd anniversary of the 1989 2-0 victory over Liverpool at Anfield. Alan Smith, and of course,
that's a good looking ball to Smith.
We'll let Eamon do the comment.
There goes Thomas. Charging into the midfield. Thomas, it's up for grabs now.
Brian Moore, what a commentator. What a piece of commentary that was. It goes down the annals of history, that. Sadly, I was only 5 then, but when you look back in the whole match, incredible, cracking tactics from George Graham. Keep it to 0-0 at half time and then win a 2-0 in the second half. Yeah, Steve McMahon.
Steve McMahon.
Well, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
You know,
what was John Barnes doing?
We don't need to open up the big lamb because I know that the show was coming to a close. But a guy said to me, he was a Villa fan. I went down to a funeral the other day and I drove him down to Tipperary. We got talking about that game because he was there himself, you see, because he's a football man. He's from St. Kevin's Boys, you know.
Yeah.
Eulogises Liam Brady and obviously being from Whitehall and that, you know. But he said, the one guy is never talked about in that team, right? And he could deal with the Steve McMahons and them fellas who used to kick you around the place. It was Kevin Richardson.
Yeah.
What a player he was, you know?
One of your favourites, Eamon, yeah?
They actually mentioned him in the London Arsenal supporters bar,
yeah.
Eamon, actually. A London Gooner that drinks there actually mentioned his name. The one player no Arsenal fans man is Kevin Richardson,
Richardson,
no one remembers him, and he had this great game that night.
He looked a bit like Brian Tilsley on Coronation Street with that. I'm trying to fix and they'll switch off and move his, you know, but
his hairstyle.
He had that kind of blonde, kind of, you know, Bucks Fizz hair. And you think, but he was a hardy bucko. Yeah. He could cope with the McMahons of this world. I mean, he showed them in Anfield that night who was boss in the middle of the pitch. He did, you know. Yeah.
He went on to play for Coventry City. Is that right, Kevin Richardson?
He'd more clubs, you know.
Yeah.
He won a league title with Everton. Everyone seems to forget
that.
Did
That's
he?
Right.
Kevin Richardson
won a league title with Everton in '85. Yeah.
I didn't know that. He seems to go under the radar, that team, didn't he? Your memories, John and Eamon, of that night, I say you remember it fondly, I take it.
Oh.
Many a drink was taken, was it?
Can I tell my story? Because
go ahead, Eamon.
Okay. So 26th of May, 89, you'll recall the game was set for, I think, either 7:35 or 7:45. The band that was playing in were playing a gig. So I set the video timer. Right? Okay. And the Arsenal handed out flowers and all of that type of stuff. And it was great. Left me ma's house in Finglas, went down to the pub, and they had the game on. You couldn't make this up, right? So they had it on one of those pulley downy screenies type of thing with a projector, right? And Alan Smith scored 1-0. And then the guy who owned the bar said, right, time for the band to go on stage, get that match off. Yeah. So we played the gig. No mobile phones, no teletext, no nothing. I got back to my mother's house around 1 o'clock in the morning and I put on the video. So I decided to run it to where I'd left the game, right? Which is about, I think Johnny scored after about an hour, it's thereabouts, you know. So I ran it through and I let it roar out me about 1:30 in the morning when Mickey put the ball in, you know, roared and then the damn thing cut off. Oh, no. Because the timer, because of them bleeding flowers that we gave them and all of that, the timer cut off. And you know yourself, normally you'd say, well, look, we're grand here, we're home and house, but we're the Arsenal. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I
had to go down to Finglas Village. Yeah. Finglas Village at 7:30 in the morning to buy a Daily Mirror to find out that we won the league after 18 years of torture. That was how it worked for me. You know,
the good old days, huh? Where you had no information.
What was your memories, Martin? Actually, What was your memories of that night?
89. I think I just went to school in Austria.
Did you? That was a highlight of your night.
That was way before my time to be looking at English football.
And John, your memories, many lemons had you got in that class that night?
I was drinking at the time. I was a teenager.
Oh my
That's
God!
how far back that was. I
You
watched
never
it.
think looking at him, viewers. You never think looking at him.
I watched it in my family sitting room with my father, who was an Everton fan, and my younger brother, who was a Liverpool fan.
Jesus.
And his favourite sat there and watched it. And Smith went in, and I gave it a little bit, as you had to.
Yeah.
But when the ball buzzed through and Michael Thomas was running through, I'm on my feet, screaming at the TV screen at the top of my voice, hurling abuse at him to kick it, begging him to shoot. The whole avenue could hear me. Windows was open. I'm screaming at the top of my voice, completely out of control. The ball hit the back of the net, and I turned to my brother and gave a blood-curdling scream that he still remembers. He'll never forget it. The neighbours came in to make sure everything was all right. He thought I was killing someone. That's not a word of a lie. The neighbours come coming in. Is everything all right? Calm down. And then I collapsed in a heap and I cried. I couldn't believe it. Everything just came out of me. My brother has never forgiven me, so I'll have to give him a call tomorrow just to remind me.
John, do you ever hear Smudger talking about that, Alan Smith? And he's saying, so I've laid the ball off, and I'm thinking, Michael, hit it at some stage, will you? Hit it at some stage.
The more you watch it, someone's going to make a tackle one of these days.
Yeah.
Exactly. It gets later and later and later.
I remember I was listening to Dixon actually, and the ball came out to him. He says he remembers when he collected the ball. He says he was in floods of tears, and he says he just wanted to get the ball as quick away from as possible. It was brilliant, though. Thomas, the confidence he had. He says once he got by Steve Nicol, he knew what if he had the legs in him. He was gonna. I love the way they have the confidence now in hindsight. What a finish! Yeah. Steve McMahon was sick. 1 minute.
That was my brother.
Was it? What Sean Barnes done? Why he didn't just go over the corner flag?
Okay.
Thank God for him.
Roll this up. I want to send the link to him quick.
Yeah. 33 years. Are you listening, Liverpool fans?
John great grandmother Aldridge then throwing David O'Leary out of the way,
Yeah.
I say, Aldo was a nice guy, as I say. I'll play volleyball with him, as I say. But right, just everything about it was great.
Yeah, what a night. Yeah, it'll always live long in the memory. And it's available to buy on DVD now. If you don't have it already. So that concludes our 21-22 podcast season of the Irish Arsenal Gunner podcast. We'll return on Tuesday, August the 2nd, reviewing all the pre-season friendlies, the signings, hopefully, incomings, outgoings, and then the build-up, of course, of our first Premier League game. So I'd like to thank John Media, Eamon Donnelly, and Martin Stumble, and all of our guests that were on for this season. It's been a pleasure. Great laughs, great fun, and I hope to have you back again for the start of next season in August.
Thanks, Jonathan.
Arteta out, I'd like to say. Can we get Eamon's favourite line before we finish?
Yeah, well, never again. Your attitude, Mr. Host, your attitude, it's so frustrating, Deirdre. Anyway, look, been a pleasure, guys.
Yeah,
have a good summer, and I'm sure we'll catch up. John, I'll get my cards off you at some stage. All right?
No problem. Give it a show. Yeah.
Okay, pal. Yeah.
So, thanks to all the listeners. Have a good summer. Thanks for listening to our show over the last 9 months. We'll be back in August. So, until then, have a good one, and we'll see you on the other side. Thanks, lads.
Bye.